Okay, in today's session we want to talk about distribution and area. We're going to start with distribution. Alright. Now, if you were presented with a problem that looked like this, didn't write all that well, hold on. If you're presented with a problem like this, most of you would, without prompting, would automatically say 12, because you've come to associate parentheses with multiplication. Alright, now what I need to warn you is not the mere presence of parentheses that indicates multiplication, but the fact that you have some term right next to the parentheses is what hints multiplication. Alright, case in point. Here, parentheses exist, but you wouldn't look at this and think to say 3 times 4. Alright, you see parentheses, but you would look at this and you would do addition and you would say the answer would be 7. Alright, so understand that it's not the fact that you see parentheses, but that you see some term right next to the parentheses is what hints multiplication. So in that, we want you to understand that distribution is simply a form of multiplication. Alright, so instead of 3 times 4, a distributive property problem may look more like 3 times x plus 4. Again, it's still multiplication, but now instead of just saying 3 times the 4, you're going to say 3 times each term that exists inside of the parentheses that it's next to, that this 3 is next to. So if you were to write the answer or simplify this, you would get 3x, excuse me, the 3 times the x would give you 3x, then 3 times the 4 would give you a positive 12. So 3 times x plus 4 would give 3x plus 12. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other examples real quick. Let's say 4 times 3x plus 2. So here again we have the 4 right next to the parentheses, so we would say 4 times the 3x and 4 times the 2. So 4 times the 3x would give me 12x. 4 times the 2 would give me a positive 8. Be sure to always include the sign in between the terms. So you have to put that plus sign there. Always have to include the sign in between the terms. Okay, another problem. Let's say we have a negative 5 times x minus 1. So negative 5 is next to the parentheses, so negative 5 times the x, negative 5 times the negative 1 or minus 1. Negative 5 times x gives me a negative 5x. Then the negative 5 times the negative 1 gives me a positive 5. A negative times a negative is a positive. So a positive or plus 5. So this would be my answer, or simplification of negative 5 times x minus 1. Now here's one that doesn't look quite as common. Alright, so we have x squared minus 3x plus 7. Okay, here you simply have a minus sign right next to the parentheses. Okay, so what you have to interpret this as as if this minus sign represented -1. So this would be comparable to saying -1 times x squared, -1 times a -3x, and -1 times a +7. So again, it'd be like saying -1 times this, -1 times that, and -1 times that. That's what this minus represents. It's like saying a -1. So the answers we would get would simply be a change of the signs for these three terms. So instead of x squared, I get a -x squared. Instead of a -3x, I get +3x. And instead of +7, I would get -7. So this would be my response. Okay. Alright, now to expand distribution to real world application, sometimes area will suffice in this matter. And when talking about area of a rectangle, we know that it is length times the width. Okay. So again, let's refer to a basic shape. I know it's not perfect, but let's say this is a rectangle, and we know that this represents 3, let's just say 3 for now. I don't want to say 3x, just 3 feet wide, and for the length we're going to say it's 2x minus 5 feet. Okay, so this rectangle is 3 feet wide and 2x minus 5 feet long. So if I want to know the area, then I simply say the length times the width. My width being 3 feet and my length being 2x minus 5 feet. So I do my distribution. 3 times the 2x would give me 6x, and 3 times the -5 would give me a -15 or -15. So my area would be 6x minus 15, but here's the kicker. It will now be feet squared, because you have that dimension, which is the width in feet, times that dimension, which is the length in feet. Feet times feet, there's 1, there's 2, there's 2 sets of feet, so feet squared. Okay, this 2 represents the fact that you have 2 dimensions represented by the unit of feet. Alright, so the area would be in feet squared. Okay, so typically when talking about area, whatever the units may be, whether it's feet, inches, meters, they will be squared. So when you're talking about area, you'll typically get some answer in feet squared, meters squared, inches squared, miles squared. Alright, let's look at one more. Let's say we have a perfect square. And I know the width of this square is 5x feet. Excuse me. Now, again, I'm telling you that this is a square, and I want you to give me the area. Well, looking at it, 4-sided figure, you're only given one dimension, which is the width is 5x feet. So some may think that they don't have enough information. But the fact that we know that this is a square, we know that if this side is 5x feet, then all sides are 5x feet. And really all I need is the width and the length to be multiplied. So I would say area would equal 5x times 5x, length times width. So area would equal 25. Now notice there are two x's, so that would be x squared, okay, and the unit, because there's feet in both dimensions, be feet squared. So the area of the square would be 25x squared feet squared. Alright, so that concludes our lesson on distribution and multiplication. Please contact me if there are any questions. Thank you.